So if you missed episode 105, 104, or even previous episodes since really the news hit last year, we've been talking about the clear cooperation rule. This is
Although it wasn't always called that. I feel like it wasn't always
8.0. They call it 8.0.
Yeah.
It was kind of also like in real estate forums, like the coming soon rule, coming soon ban. It's been referred to as that.
Many things. Yeah.
But this is a national association rule, and then and correct me if I'm wrong, every local MLS is adopting it and their version in the gray area of that.
Correct. Yep.
Right? So in your definition, let's just jump right into it if you don't mind. In your definition, what is high level the clear cooperation rule?
So high level, it's just ensuring that every property, every listing that is out there for public consumption is also in the MLS for professional consumption. We were having an issue where the public would see listings. They might see a street sign. They might drive down the road, call their agent, ask their agent to see, hey, can I see 127 Ajax? And then they go into the MLS and they're like, yeah, and then they go to 127 Ajax on Google. They try to see what they can find anywhere else. And they're like, well, what color is the sign? Try to get some clues who usually sells in that area, and then try to make some phone calls and do some quick talking to change the subject and get the information. So we want the professional to have all the information that the consumer has.
So yeah, and so basically making sure everything's listed on the MLS so we can have cooperation. And okay, and so what was happening, and we're not going to say any names, but what was happening maybe that made this rule come to be?
So this is a trend that started probably 5, 7, 8 years ago, right? So an agent learned somewhere that, hey, why don't you have listings that are coming soon and let people know that a property is going to be on the market in the next few weeks. You're in the process of taking pictures. You're in the process of refinishing the floors, cleaning up the kids' rooms, that sort of stuff, and just tease people and send it out in your newsletter, send out an email blast to other agents. Hey, keep an eye out on this. Then one person saw it. Then another person saw it. Then websites started popping up. And then all of a sudden, a percentage of the market wasn't on the MLS anymore. It was just on these emails. They were on Facebook pages, closed Facebook pages, open Facebook pages, groups, that come together that just talk about things, that all like-minded groups. So it was all taking away from the cooperation of the MLS, and the MLS is there for the sole purpose of cooperating with each other.
Right.
And that was having major issues on the major focus of the MLS.
Yeah, and so when we've talked about it, we're like, this doesn't impact us, like as a team here in Connecticut.
No, again, we were talking about it earlier, and I said if you go even like 2 podcasts earlier, like we were like, this is great, like this is no big deal, like everyone's just gonna be kissing babies, shaking hands, loving on each other, And it makes sense because I feel like for what we do, we were doing that. We were, we're always getting, obviously if it's coming soon, we're obviously in Connecticut, we have the coming soon. So we were doing that. But yeah, no, we loved it. We thought it was great.
And so Nicole, but then, well, wait, there's more. Nicole, who does a lot of work with investors, house flippers, her and I both take on new developments where, a developer or an investor or a builder wants their product to be shown off oftentimes even before the unit, the house, the project is complete.
Well, stories. Everybody loves telling stories.
Yeah, to story tell to the consumer.
Right, yeah.
Let the consumer know the journey that we're on so that they become interested, so that they become intrigued, so that they tell their friend, so that you can build an email list, so you can build interest ahead of time so that you're not just waiting for the final nail to go into the condo or whatever it is. And so Nicole said, this could cause a problem if we're going to follow the rules, which, Kathy, we're going to follow all the rules.
Always.
So in that specific area, and this doesn't apply to everybody, certainly, if you're an agent or a broker watching this that doesn't do any new construction, this may not apply to you now. It may in the future. This is going to be a smaller segment. We know most of the transactions in most MLSs are resale properties, which are, a typical single-family home that was, being marketed now again for the second time. It's not new, or the third time or the fourth time, a resale property. But in this specific situation, are we living in a gray area? What is the solution to market for builders, investors, flippers, and tell the story to the public as we approach the project being completed?
So it is definitely a gray area because the vast majority of what we deal with are resale properties and stuff that is on the market right away. It's not the 10, 12 month lead time on new construction, or the 2, 3, 4 month lead time on flipping. And then your take on flipping and the way you do things is even more unique and interesting and tells a definite story, and gets it out there. So we don't really have hard and fast rules with it. So the black and white answer is that it can't be done, right? That it's out there marketing and it could cause someone to reach out and contact you, and then you double end the transaction and get 100% and just sort of keep everything for yourself.
Yeah.
And
that's what you're trying to eliminate.
And that's what we're trying to eliminate. We want the general public to know, so it doesn't matter who their agent is, they know about 100% of the market area, because the last thing we want there to be is any fair housing information to come out or anything like that. The story aspect of your piece changes the dynamic of the rule a little bit differently and how it can come on. And if your seller goes to you and says, hey, I don't want it on the MLS for whatever reason, we can't force a seller to put it on the MLS. We've got a form we have them sign and say, hey, these are the benefits of going on the MLS. It reaches over 18,000 people. It goes to these websites. It does this, and it's to your benefit. And they can sign off knowing they want to waive their right to that benefit. And they could put the listing in as a withheld listing on the MLS. And we require, when we enforce this rule, when we brought this rule into fruition last spring, we created a new section on the website for withheld listings. So they put a check mark in the box. You see the listing as the agent, your manager sees the listing, and we see it as the MLS. So if someone's driving down the road, they see your sign in the road and they contact us, or they contact an agent, right? They can then call us and be like, oh yeah, we know about that property, and we can put the two forces together outside of the public purview.
So and just to clarify, in that situation, so you're saying if the seller is asking the agent to withdraw it, instead of the agent saying, hey, we're going to keep this off, I'm going to try and find someone on my own, that's obviously against. But if the seller says, I want to keep this off and sign the form, you can go about it that way. Okay.
So it would be against the real estate realtor code of ethics if you encourage people to keep it off. But if they've got reasons to not put it on the MLS, then it's their right to not have to put it on the MLS. So it goes on the MLS whatever day your contract goes into effect. We start counting market time at that point, because at some point the seller might want to put it on the market and they might not want to, right? So they might say, oh, maybe this was the wrong thing. I had one the other day. I want to change my withheld back to active. We require it to be off the MLS for 30 days so that there's not just that little in-between period of time that they really know what they want to do. And anyone that doesn't want their house on the MLS doesn't really care if it's for 30 days, 40 days, 60 days, because they just don't want it on the MLS.
Question though, and again, now we're going a little micro here, so I apologize. But so you're saying you want it off for 30 days, but there's the 2-week coming soon rule.
Which is a different rule,
So can you take it off for 2 weeks and then do coming soon 2 weeks?
So it would be the 30 days withheld, and then you could do 2 weeks after that as coming soon. The coming soon rule is what most people use, right? It gives them the opportunity when you're doing a coming soon listing, you could advertise the daylights out of it. It shows up on the MLS. People can schedule appointments for whatever day that go live date is.
So withheld is a maximum of 30 days?
It's a minimum of 30 days.
It's a minimum of 30 days, and there has to be a 30-day gap. Or no?
No.
Okay, I misunderstood
on the 31st day.
Yeah, I misunderstood too. Okay.
It can go on. So it's got to be on withheld for at least 30 days. You could, in our case here in Connecticut, remember this is not for every MLS, but for our case in Connecticut, we have a 2-week coming soon period. So you could do withheld for 31 days, coming soon for 14 days, live MLS everywhere the next day.
Right.
Does that come in as, we had the question, is that then new? Does it come on?
So coming soon listing comes on as new, right? On the 14th, and it's a maximum of 14 days. You can choose 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 12 days, 14 days. A lot of people choose that 14 day, but life changes, right? So the seller might not be ready. You can't shorten a coming soon listing because you've told the world everywhere.
I've tried that once before. I'm like, wait a minute, it was supposed to go on tomorrow. And it was, that was fun.
And then on the 14th day, so we always encourage people to do less. If you think 14, do 12. If you think 12, do 10. Give yourself an adjustment period there for whatever might come down the road. But you can't do 14 and come to 7 because the whole world's expecting it on 14
days,
right? But you can go 7 and we'll let you go out to 14. You can go 12 and you can go out to 14, but you can't go out to 15. Right? So the seller has to kind of know what they're getting into and be explained the process.
So to recap here, just quickly, because I like the black and white. You went black and white. I like that.
No, but I think it's helpful to give like real life situations.
The real life situation. But black and white, no, you cannot do this pre-marketing phase where you tell the story unless the seller wants the listing withheld. Now, you mentioned our code of ethics there, and all National Association of Realtor agents have their code of ethics. And I think you said there that we could not really try to get the seller to do this withheld situation to benefit us. Now, if you are sitting in front of a developer and you're talking strategy and they want to know strategy from the pre-sale phase to the on-market phase, all the way to the closeout of the project. You know, if it's a developer, they've got a huge timeline there, and they don't really make any money till the end. So, you know, they're concerned about the whole entire timeline. Can I explain to them unprovoked the two scenarios of a withheld listing, or do I need to keep that quiet unless they ask the specific question?
Well, I think new construction in general is different than resale.
I agree.
And there's MLSs out there, and this rule is fresh and new and brand new to everyone. So getting the nuances of things, different MLSs are going to do things differently. So some MLSs are going to even carve out new construction because traditionally you've got that time period, that pre-marketing time period that everyone's used to, the signs in the ground that looks as, you know, empty land, and this is what it's going to be.
Right.
And they want to get that information out there. So under clear cooperation, that listing has to be in the MLS, but they might not even know what's going to go on that property. So there's no way to price it. There's no information there. So we at SmartMLS, we don't have a rule. We haven't really run into it yet. But doing what you guys are doing and talking and communicating about is going to cause people to have opinions about it. And then we encourage people to then reach out to each of their MLSs to say, hey, what about this idea? Because everybody's not going to think of everything and have special carve-outs for different circumstances. So I think new construction would be handled slightly differently because you don't know. You can't price what you don't know. It's impossible. So to go out there, you could put it on, you know, once you do know the different types of houses that are on there, we allow you to put in a spec house for each property type or each classification of property you have or the different offerings, and not put everything in. So we already have special rules for new construction. So we'll probably look into adapting some of our rules.